A loyal wife attends an elite dinner to support her husband's big business moment, but in front of wealthy guests, he humiliates her, calls her a disgrace, and leaves her alone with a $4,000 bill. Heartbroken, she walks out, but what happens next turns her pain into power, and the same man who mocked her will soon beg for just one chance to stand beside her again. She sat in silence, her fingers gently tracing the rim of the untouched glass before her, surrounded by golden chandeliers and polished marble floors that reflected a world she never truly felt part of. The table was dressed in luxury, voices around her draped in ego and influence, and she kept reminding herself that tonight was supposed to be special. Her husband had told her this dinner could change everything for them, that it was a night of celebration, honor, and opportunity. She believed him. She believed every word, the way a devoted wife believes in the man she trusts her life with. But she never imagined that within this same evening, she would lose more than she could have ever thought possible: respect, love, and the last pieces of herself she had always protected so delicately. The laughter around her felt cold. His friends, wealthy, entitled, and dripping with superiority, spoke a language of arrogance she never wanted to learn. Still, she sat there, composed and graceful, her posture perfect, her smile soft. She didn't speak much, not because she lacked words, but because she had learned that her silence brought him peace. He liked a wife who looked elegant, not one who talked too much. That's what he always said. She accepted it. She tried to be what he wanted, because she loved him more than she loved her own voice. But tonight, something felt different. He had barely looked at her since they arrived. He kept his attention wrapped around everyone but her, praising his colleagues, flattering investors, making grand statements about his achievements as though she had never stood beside him through every silent war, through every night of failure, fear, or financial struggle. She watched him glowing in their admiration and wondered if he even remembered the nights she stayed awake to keep him from drowning in his own doubt. She wondered if he remembered her at all. When the waiter placed another round of dishes on the table, one of the men leaned back and smirked, his voice loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "You know, you could have married someone who fits this level better," he joked, glancing at her as though she were an accessory that didn't match the outfit. She kept her eyes lowered, pretending she didn't hear him, but inside her chest, something sank. Her husband didn't defend her. Instead, he laughed with them. A sharp laugh. A proud laugh. A laugh that sliced deeper than any insult could. For a moment, she told herself it was just a joke, that he didn't mean it, that he was nervous, that he just wanted to impress them. She breathed in slowly and kept her composure. But then, the moment that would scorch her memory forever arrived. One of the women at the table said, "She seems quiet. Does she have anything interesting to say?" The table chuckled, and her husband leaned forward, placing his glass down, and said with a careless confidence that shattered her heart in a single breath, "She's just not built for this world. Honestly, sometimes she's a disgrace. But I manage." The laughter that followed felt like fire spreading across her skin. A disgrace. The word hit her harder than betrayal itself. She blinked once, twice, trying to hold herself together, her nails pressing into her palm beneath the tablecloth to keep her from falling apart. She looked at him, waiting, hoping for him to take it back, to laugh and say he didn't mean it. But he only smirked, satisfied by the reaction he got from his audience. She felt her heart tighten. Her throat burned. Suddenly, she couldn't hear the voices around her anymore. Only the echo of that word, over and over, drilling into her soul. A disgrace. From the man she prayed for. The man she stood by. The man she loved more than herself. The dinner continued as though nothing had happened, but she felt her world collapsing in slow motion. Her appetite vanished, her spirit dimmed, yet she sat there, refusing to cry, refusing to break in front of strangers who fed on drama like it was dessert. When the night came to an end, and the waiter discreetly placed the bill on the table, her husband stood, buttoning his blazer with a smug smile. Then, without looking at her, he said, "She'll take care of it," and walked away with his friends, leaving her behind, abandoned, humiliated, and holding a $4,000 bill she never agreed to pay. She stared at the numbers, her vision blurring. The room felt colder now, the chandeliers harsher, the marble floor beneath her feet suddenly unstable. She felt as though she was sinking, and no one noticed. No one cared. Not even him. But what she didn't know, not yet, was that tonight was not the end of her story. It was the beginning of a transformation she never saw coming. The woman who walked into that dinner would not be the same woman who would rise from its ashes. Because sometimes life doesn't break you to destroy you. It breaks you to rebuild you into something unstoppable. And fate was already waiting for her outside those golden doors. She stepped out of the restaurant with the receipt still trembling between her fingers, the cold night air brushing against her skin like a reminder that the world outside was far quieter than the war inside her chest. The city around her glowed with expensive street lamps and luxury cars sweeping through polished roads, but she felt painfully small against all that glitter. She had paid the bill. She had swallowed the humiliation. Yet nothing felt settled. Her heart was a storm she could no longer hide behind a practiced smile. As she walked, her heels clicked against the pavement, each step echoing her disbelief. She kept replaying the night in her mind, searching for the moment everything went wrong. Was it when she stayed silent to keep the peace? Was it when she sacrificed her dreams to lift his? Or was it long before that, when she mistook obedience for love and endurance for partnership? She pressed her lips together, refusing to let a single tear fall, but she could feel the pressure building behind her eyes, demanding release. By the time she reached her car, the tears finally broke free. She leaned against the door, covering her mouth to muffle the sobs that ripped through her chest. No one was there to see. No one was there to care. And perhaps that, more than anything, was the cruelest truth of all. She had given her life to a man who could watch her drown and still call it leadership. Minutes passed before she found the strength to breathe properly again. She wiped her face, straightened her posture, and forced herself to sit in the driver's seat. She stared at her reflection in the mirror, eyes swollen, lipstick smudged, dignity cracked but not destroyed. There was pain, yes, but beneath it, there was something else, something quiet, something buried, something that refused to die. When she reached home, the house looked the same as it always did, perfect, organized, and lifeless. She stepped inside to silence, the kind that feels heavy, like it has weight and history. She slipped off her heels, her feet aching, her heart aching more. For a moment she stood in the doorway, unsure what to do next. The night had taken the version of herself she used to be, and she could feel the emptiness left behind. She walked to the dining table and placed her purse down gently. The receipt fell out, drifting across the polished surface like a final insult. $4,000. $4,000 for a night that shattered her spirit and mocked her devotion. She sat in the chair and stared at that paper, feeling the weight of every compromise she had ever made in the name of love. She whispered to herself, barely audible, as though speaking too loudly might break her all over again. How did I become this invisible? No answer came. Only the quiet hum of the refrigerator somewhere in the back of the house. She leaned back and closed her eyes, letting the exhaustion settle into her bones. In that stillness, she finally admitted the truth she had never dared to think before. He didn't love her. Not really. He loved her presence, her obedience, her silence. He loved that she made him look stable, respectable, grounded. He loved the idea of her, not the woman she truly was. And tonight, he had shown her exactly where she stood in his world, beneath him, behind him, and beneath the boots of his pride. She exhaled, long and slow. For the first time, she wasn't just hurt. She was awakening. She rose from the chair and walked to the bedroom. The room felt colder than usual, though nothing had changed but her heart. She sat on the edge of the bed and let the memories of their years together flicker through her mind. Every promise, every sacrifice, every moment she thought meant something. It hurt to realize how many of those memories were built on hope, not reality. She reached for her phone. Dozens of notifications lit the screen, messages from him, from his friends, all laughing about the night, mocking, dismissing, writing off the moment as a joke. She stared at the words, and something inside her hardened. She didn't reply. She blocked each number one by one, her hand steady, her decision clear. She would no longer beg for space in a life she helped build.
Her tears had dried now.
The trembling had stopped. She stood and walked to the bathroom, splashing cold water on her face, washing away the last traces of evening. When she looked in the mirror again, she didn't see a broken woman. She saw a wounded one. And a wounded woman is not the same as a defeated one. Pain can bury a person, or it can forge them. She didn't know which she would become yet, but she knew she would never return to the version of herself that tolerated being diminished. She turned off the lights and walked back into the quiet room. She lay down, pulling the blanket over herself, staring at the ceiling as the darkness wrapped around her. For the first time in a long time, she didn't pray for the marriage to survive. She didn't pray for him to change. She didn't pray for the pain to disappear. She prayed for strength. Not the strength to continue suffering, but the strength to rise from it. Outside, the night moved on, indifferent and endless. But inside her, something had begun. A shift, a spark, a pulse of self-worth fighting its way back to life. She closed her eyes, knowing tomorrow would not be easier, but tomorrow would be hers. And that was enough.